For an IT expert, this environment represents the ideal. Every aligned rack exists within an ecosystem where perfect order is the default state. Technical professionals rely on fixed structures, scope diagrams, and milestone maps to dictate every action. You're either secure or vulnerable. Success is binary. If the system clears these parameters, you succeed. If it fails, you fix it until it balances. Then comes the shift into relationship sales, like insurance or advisory services. Suddenly, the guardrails and the step-by-step logic maps vanish. Moving from high-tech to high-touch involves leaving an environment of guaranteed variables and stepping into the unpredictable chaos of human behavior. When an analytical mind enters this new role, its first instinct is to ask the client for a blueprint. The professional looks for a scope of work to define the problem, but clients in relationship-driven fields have no blueprint to hand over. They operate in a state much like this room, clouded by unstructured anxiety. Faced with that lack of clarity, the analytical mind retreats. It defaults to rattling off data, deploying strict logic and technical specifications, desperate to regain a sense of certainty. This creates a disconnect. Brilliant professionals struggle when they prioritize cold data over human connection at the exact moment a client feels most overwhelmed. Standard industry advice often tells the technical expert to become an extrovert. They are told to adopt a highly charismatic, emotional persona to win people over. Trying to abandon logic for pure emotional performance is exhausting. For a deeply analytical mind, it feels unnatural and is impossible to sustain. This diagram introduces process as a product, a concept designed to bridge the gap between analysis and human connection. An expert's ability to build structural frameworks, like expanding these interconnected nodes, applies to navigating human relationships just as effectively as IT systems. In the absence of order, the professional cannot wait for the client to provide the blueprint. They must step up and become the architect of the conversation themselves. Process as a product means using an orderly mind to map out the client's emotional journey, rather than simply reciting technical specs. The first step is to actively extract the client's messy variables. This means asking direct questions about their financial fears, their family obligations, and worst-case scenarios. Once those disorganized fears are out in the open, you plot them into a clear, digestible system, like erratic data organizing into a distinct trendline. This framework acts as a psychological buffer, allowing the professional to absorb client chaos without becoming overwhelmed. The final step is taking that processed information and handing back a structured plan. This gives the client a logical reality to stand on. By doing the heavy lifting of organization, the professional's analytical ability becomes an instrument of empathy. They provide the blueprint the client was missing. We often treat empathy as mere emotional mirroring, the act of nodding, smiling, and matching someone's stress. For the technocrat, empathy is the deliberate act of creating order for someone who feels overwhelmed. This removes the pressure to perform emotionally. The professional can lean entirely on their authentic strength, the ability to organize complex systems. Providing structural clarity is a highly effective form of compassion for a client facing uncertainty. In the technical world, a milestone is a formal physical signature on a statement of work. In relationship-driven work, the true milestone is invisible. You spot it in the physical indicators, the exact moment a client's hands stop gripping the table, their shoulders drop, and they finally exhale. That moment signifies the real sign-off. It marks the successful transfer of peace of mind from an organized system directly into the client's hands. The technician's strengths remain the same. They are simply using that orderly mind to solve the human problem of anxiety.